Imagine a world where soap was rare, water was feared, and people allegedly endured life coated in filth. The Middle Ages, often romanticized with knights and castles, is equally infamous for its supposed lack of hygiene. You have probably heard the claim that medieval Europeans bathed only once a year, if that. But how accurate is this image? The truth, like the period itself, is far more complex and fascinating. The Middle Ages spanned approximately 1,000 years across vast regions, and hygiene habits were as diverse as the people. Did some avoid bathing altogether? Absolutely. But was this the norm for an entire civilization? Let us uncover the reality, separating myth from fact. Before dismissing medieval hygiene as non-existent, consider this. Public bathhouses thrived in medieval cities. Monks meticulously washed their feet, and even medieval physicians prescribed regular bathing as a health remedy. Yet, these practices are overshadowed by enduring myths. Why? Because history, like gossip, often picks up a sensational spin. To understand medieval hygiene, we must first step into the bustling bathhouses of the time. Yes, bathhouses. Far from being a rarity, they were common across medieval Europe, particularly during the early Middle Ages. Inspired by Roman traditions, many cities retained or rebuilt public baths, which became centers for both cleanliness and socializing. For example, in 12th century Paris, bathhouses were so popular that chroniclers remarked on their abundance. Wealthy patrons indulged in luxurious hot baths scented with herbs, while the working class frequented simpler establishments. Even in colder climates like England, bathhouses flourished. London had its stews, a mix of bathhouses and inns, where people could cleanse themselves. However, the waters were not always pure. Imagine sharing a tub with a stranger. Over time, concerns about cleanliness in public baths grew, leading to their decline by the late Middle Ages. So what happened? Why did the vibrant bathhouse culture fade? Here is where the story gets murky. By the 14th century, attitudes toward bathing began to shift. The Christian Church, which had tolerated public baths, started associating them with moral corruption. Bathhouses were increasingly linked to sinful activities, particularly as some establishments doubled as brothels. Simultaneously, fears about the spread of disease loomed large. The Black Death, which ravaged Europe in the mid-14th century, led many to believe that water opened the skin's pores, allowing deadly miasmas to enter the body. Physicians, operating under Galenic theories, advised against frequent bathing, viewing it as a potential health risk. In monasteries, however, hygiene remained a priority. Monks adhered to strict routines of washing hands, faces, and feet. Medieval manuscripts even outlined rules for communal bathing, with some monasteries equipped with baths for the sick. It is ironic that while public bathing fell out of favor, religious institutions preserved certain hygienic practices. But what about the average peasant? Did they truly wallow in grime year-round? The average medieval villager did not have access to grand bathhouses, but that does not mean they neglected cleanliness. Archaeological findings suggest that people improvised with what they had. Rivers and streams were commonly used for washing, especially in warmer months. Personal hygiene tools like combs, razors, and even primitive soaps have been uncovered, indicating that people cared about their appearance and cleanliness. Seasonal bathing was also a reality. In regions with harsh winters, full-body bathing was rare during the colder months, but washing hands, faces, and other exposed parts remained routine. After all, a dirty appearance was often frowned upon, especially for those attending church or social gatherings. By the late Middle Ages, innovations in soap making improved hygiene further. Soap factories in cities like Marseille and Genoa produced high-quality products that were exported across Europe. These soaps, often made with olive oil and scented with herbs, became prized commodities for the wealthy. So, did medieval Europeans bathe once a year? For most, the answer is a resounding no. Hygiene varied widely depending on geography, class, and cultural norms, but the idea of a universally dirty Middle Ages is a modern exaggeration. Public baths were once thriving hubs. Personal grooming tools were common, and even peasants found ways to stay clean despite limited resources. Why then does the myth persist? Perhaps it is because the Middle Ages, so distant from our own time, offer fertile ground for stereotypes and sensationalized tales. But by looking closer at historical records, we see a period that, while different from our modern standards, was not as filthy as we have been led to believe. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this dive into medieval myths, please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and share your thoughts.